The next few months of boxing are looking to be very entertaining, especially with the 4 highly touted young fighters at the lightweight division finally scheduling their ring returns in the next few months. First and foremost, Devin Haney will be facing off against Jorge Linares on May 29th in the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. This fight is a very good fight. Although it's not a fight against another one of the young guns in the division, it still remains a very intriguing fight, and that's because Jorge Linares is very technical, very gifted, and he's a very smooth operator in the ring. He's given the likes of Vasily Lomachenko absolute fits. He's beaten Luke Campbell in the past and several other pretty decent names, but his biggest flaw is the fact that he doesn't sustain too much damage. He doesn't like the heart, he just simply can't take a punch. Pablo Cesar Cano was the latest one to have knocked him out just 2 years ago. Lomachenko was able to stop him as well, and there's been other fighters of less prestige in the past that have also knocked him out, and that's where his issue lies. Again, Linares is a very impressive fighter to watch. He strings combinations together beautifully, but in his 5 losses, all 5 have come by way of knockout. Although Devin Haney isn't the biggest puncher, I really think his technique, timing, and precision are going to be the winning and decisive elements in this fight, and I'm ultimately favoring Devin Haney over Linares via stoppage in the mid to late rounds. Recently, they announced Ryan Garcia versus Javier Fortuna for July 9th in a venue yet to be announced on, of course, the dazn platform, and this is a very intriguing fight. Javier Fortuna, again, he's a very talented veteran who's been in there with all sorts of styles, seen them all, has beaten a lot of them, and has also lost as well. Although his latest loss comes 3 years ago against the likes of Robert Easter Jr., another very good fighter, he really hasn't had a significant win in some time. And although he holds an impressive 60% knockout, if he doesn't stop his opponents, you're almost guaranteed a knockdown with the southpaw Dominican fighter. And I think that's where he's going to pose the biggest issue for Ryan Garcia, who looked like a relative novice when he was fighting a southpaw in Luke Campbell. And although they're different styles, Luke Campbell is a little bit more methodical. He likes to take his time, pick his shots, etc., and doesn't really press forward with aggression. Javier Fortuna, on the other hand, is a completely different style, and I think this is a great fight for Ryan Garcia. I think his chin could definitely be checked once again in this fight, but if any data was collected on his last fight, Ryan Garcia definitely has the heart of a champion, and he has a solid chin, and his recovery time is pretty impressive. Nevertheless, I also favor Ryan Garcia in this fight via stoppage. Again, Javier Fortuna is a hell of a fighter. I just think that he's on the downward slope, and right now Ryan Garcia is in a much better moment and position in his career. He's on the rise, he's moving on through the ranks, and he's definitely a threat. He's a bigger fighter, he's a heavier handed fighter, and not only that, but he does have some solid fundamentals, and he's very quick, very powerful, and although slightly flat-footed, I think he's gonna be able to catch the aggressive Fortuna and possibly turn his lights off. We also have a possible announcement Friday, April 16th in regard to the Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos Jr. fight, and rumors are that it should be held on June 5th somewhere in Miami. I think this is going to be an interesting fight, and although I have a lot of respect for George Kambosos Jr. and his ability to have aligned himself and land himself this fight, I think that Kambosos Jr. doesn't have the power to keep someone like Teofimo Lopez off of him. The thing about Teofimo is that not only is he a knockout artist with a lot of power, his timing is very spectacular, and I think that George Kambosos Jr. could get a little reckless in there, wing his shots, and I think he could get clipped. Kambosos Jr. didn't really impress too much in this Lee Selby fight. It was a split decision victory. He also had a split decision win over Mickey Bay, and those are really his most impressive victories. And I think in comparison to what Teofimo has gone through with Nakatani, Komei, and of course Vasily Lomachenko, I think there's levels to this. And again, George Kambosos Jr. is a very good talent, but Teofimo Lopez, I believe, is on a different level. And lastly, I know I've made a video on this before, but I want to talk about the possible matchup between Gervonta Tank Davis and Mario Barrios. And although Mario Barrios is going to definitely be perhaps the biggest opponent that Tank Davis has faced in terms of size, not only that, Tank Davis is challenging himself by jumping up 2 entire weight divisions from super featherweight, and he's facing the bigger fighter as well. Although Mario Barrios can crack, I don't think he has the same devastating and concussive power that someone like Gervonta Davis wields. Not only that, but I think Gervonta Tank Davis also edges the experience in the ring against tougher and more high caliber opponents as well. Mario Barrios has beaten the likes of Brian Carl, Akhmedov, Velasco, some relatively novice fighters as well, pretty much on his same level, but he has never faced anyone nearly as challenging as Gervonta Tank Davis. Although they are around the same age, there's just levels to the game, there's levels to boxing, and I think that Gervonta Tank Davis, he's on a completely different level than Mario Barrios. And I think the keys to victory on this one for Gervonta Tank Davis are going to be his speed, timing, and his power. He might be able to knock down Mario Barrios, but it doesn't really seem like he carries his power too well, as evident in his fight against Yororki Gamboa. And this time around, he's going to be fighting at 140, so that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for him to be able to stop his opponent. Not only that, but his opponent is also bigger in frame, bigger in stature, and there's a lot of other elements in the situation to where I think that this fight could potentially go the distance. If anything, I favor Tank Davis to win either by knockout or decision, but I'm leaning more towards a decision win for Gervonta Tank Davis in this one. And I'm not too sure of Barrios' chin because we haven't really, like I said, seen him against fighters that wield one punch knockout type of power, but I am second guessing Tank's ability to carry over his power from 130 all the way to 140, especially with no fights in between or no tune-up fight to acclimate himself to the weight. Nevertheless, we are still waiting to see if this fight gets announced and finally made official, but we have a lot of great fights amongst these young guys, and although they're not fighting each other as they once promised us and their fandoms, we're still going to see them against pretty solid opponents, and hopefully this continues to shape not only their career and rivalries, but potential mega showdowns in a not so distant future. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, so make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Like always, I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is Shay at King Me Boxing, signing out.